And that's a fact of life. So, I feel, though, that what I would like to pin my hopes on is the fact that the Filipino youth, majority of the voters, because of the awareness that they have, the ability to gather information at the soonest possible time, will become more objective. And that is the key to a successful democracy. A well-informed, participative citizenry that is as objective as possible. And it is also a function of a more educated society. Because the more we talk in scientific and technological terms, the more objective we get. And probably science and technology one day might be the language of unity, rather than language being a vehicle of disunity and hate. A more educated public becomes more enlightened, becomes more objective, and less biased and bigoted, which is really important.
You mentioned the coming, or the new generation. You're emerging to be the darling in the university campus. How does it feel to be one?
Well, first it makes me feel 20 years younger. I saw a classmate earlier, and I won't mention his name, but he looks a little bit older than I do. It's good to feel 20 years younger, but at least it feels good that you're able to challenge the young. That it's not merely their vigor and their power, but power used wisely, power used with discernment. I'm always asked what a trait of a leader should have. The ideal is, and I use the term perspicacity, which is knowledgeable discernment, or it's not merely intelligence, but discerning intelligence. And that is a trait everybody has. I'm not saying I have it, but I constantly wish I had.
You have chosen galing at talino, or competence and intelligence as your slogan. Is there an advantage using that catchphrase, and where did you get the idea?
Well, I think, Pastor, the obvious is it has the same initials as my name. However, I think that the main message that I would like, if I were allowed by the COMELEC to have a little bit more time in our ads to explain, is that all Filipinos are inherently intelligent and inherently good. They have a lot of talent, a lot of ability. And I say, Pastor, sinasabi ko nga po, hindi naman ako magaling at matalino. Ang pinakamagaling at matalino, pagpalagay natin, Juan de la Cruz ang pangalan. Walang minana sa magulang, hindi nakapag-aral, may 3 o 4 na anak, kailangan niyang pakainin araw-araw yung pamilya niya at nagagawa niya. Yan ang pinakamagaling po, pinakamatalino. Dahil sa wala, nagkakaroon eh. So, anong kulang dun sa tao na yon? Pagkakataon. Dahil nga, watak-watak ang kanyang bansa, yung mga politiko, nag-aaway-away, walang ingredients ng sustainable development ng kanyang bansa, kaya siya naiiwanan. Every Filipino, given the chance, given the right environment, will outperform everybody else, proven by people who are abroad. Yes. That phenomenon, it's too commonplace to deny, and we cannot deny that. It's just that our environment is conducive to the deleterious effects of our environment to Filipinos. It's not conducive to their development and their growth. And why is that? Probably our assumptions are false of what we view our society as and what we want our society to be is not in accord with what we can do.
Right.
Okay, Pastor, thank you so much, Secretary. Before we will have a break, earlier you mentioned about long-term policies and plans that will continue in our country, even with the change of administration. Now, any policies of the present administration that you will be carried over once you will be elected or seated as president?
There are a lot. We should continue, first in the international relations sphere, our strong engagement with all countries. It is a pillar of Philippine foreign policy that because we are an archipelago, our economic well-being, national security, And the welfare of Filipinos abroad, not merely OFWs, but Filipinos abroad, we rely on our good relations with other countries. It's really important, it's vital. But we do so on a position that our national interests cannot be compromised. And that can only be done if we are a strong country, unfortunately. And we have to beef up ourselves for doing that. Number two, for example, one cannot deny a very successful program of this administration. Opposition and administration economists say it is good. That is the conditional cash transfer program designed to help the poorest of the poor. The DSWD now, under the Pantawid Pamilya ng Pangulo program, is helping 700,000 families, soon to expand to 1 million. Conditional cash transfers, they receive their cash. What is the condition? Send your children to school. Don't let them work. So, and that's really good. It has to be continued. Thirdly, the nautical highway program, which has already been accomplished, must be taken to its next logical conclusion. More seamless interconnections between and amongst islands and intra-island. For example, in Luzon, it's the clearest example. I don't say it's the only project. It's the interlinking of NLEX, ECITEX, SLEX, and STAR. You know, the seamless interconnections must be done. The same here in Mindanao. The administration is opening up new roads in Zamboanga del Norte, in Surigao del Sur, in Agusan del Sur, even in the Combal area. We have to follow up on that. We should continue our seaports, our airports, and we should already continue the design of next-generation communities, bridges between islands, high-speed transits, and the like. Fourthly, we must be very serious on our land use and zoning plans, particularly in areas which are still urbanizing and have the chance to save the ills that rack Manila now. So we have to continue those plans that are underfoot. Now, whether you like it or not, there are peace paradigms ongoing. It will be the height of irresponsibility to make a 180 immediately without studying the repercussions it has on the fragile balance of peace we have in Mindanao. So therefore, you must continue and try to find a way to place in your own nuance within the current parameter of peace. Because once conflict escalates here, particularly this year when we face a drought, when we face some shortfall in agricultural productivity, it will be catastrophic for our country once again. And the aftermath of Typhoon Ondoy, which our country suffered a reconstruction bill of 208 billion pesos needed to rebuild the certain part of the country. Cannot afford that. So those are but a few of the programs that you have to continue.
It is there where Mindanao is going to play a very vital role.
Food security.
For food security,
Yes.
especially for Metro Manila.
Yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned about nautical highways and other infrastructure development being undertaken by this government in the past. What seems to be not adequately addressed is the cost of transport.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
It costs a lot of money to transport my product from Davao or from Jolo to Manila.
Yes, sir.
And in which case, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Bring down the cost and we can feed Manila.
Right. No, first, it's the cost of transport. And second, there are also a lot of areas which can be freed through the use of proper infrastructure for agriculture.
Yes.
For example, the Central Mindanao River Basin flood control and irrigation project. So investment of about 11 to 15 billion pesos, but it will free up hundreds of thousands of hectares of arable land, very, very fertile land. Free Sultan Kudarat, like the town of Lambayong, up to Cotabato City from the perils of flooding. And naturally, if there's arable land, hopefully, and with some presence of deterrent forces, conflict will simmer down.
Yes.
Conflict will simmer down. Now, you have more produce. there is a very delicate balance there. More produce, theoretically lower price. But what happens to your farmer now with the lower price? So the government really has no choice but to support them. It's good for the consumer with lower food prices, but bad for the farmer. And that's where government must come in. Now, with the infrastructure, what you do is effectively lower your transport component for that.
Yes.
But there is one other variable which is really essential and vital in the transport equation. That's the price of fuel, where you have relatively no control. Then there is also one problem also. It is the competition in the transport providers, particularly in the shipping industry. You know. I remember when a ship tragedy happened